I'm a Bitcoin maxi, like I'm totally a maxi, but I just
Totally,
think,
yeah.
there's got to be business layers on top of the reserve currency, and I think that's what Solana is going to be.
Spreading all around my room, my world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.
Marco.
Yeah, thanks. So, have I don't think have I met you guys on Twitter before?
Yeah, let's
Rosh
do
or
that.
Emma?
Let's do a quick intro.
Awesome.
All right, you start 10K.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Blockcast. We talk to ambitious founders building in Web3, and this is our first episode. We have Harkle over here. I've been on and off talking to him since, I don't know, was it 2021, somewhere around December or something? I think we met. So it's been a long time.
Must be
How are you
around
doing?
Yeah, good, bro. Yeah, look, thanks for having me on. It's it's really, like you say, it's been a couple of years, and we've known each other for a long time, but never really properly hooked up IRL. So yeah, look, it's awesome to be here. I guess, yeah, I'm Harkle. I'm a Web3 founder working on Solana. I've been working on Solana since about that same time, 2 years. Started with the project called Boom Army, which is a decentralized social project, and I think that's sort of where we first connected a lot. 10K was one of the OGs on that, and one of the regulars. And honestly, being a founder is pretty hard, and he was one of the guys who sort of got me through a lot of the stuff. So, really appreciated of him and to be here. But now I've got another project that I'm working on as well called mixt-ape, which is, I sort of burnt out a little bit with Boom Army, and yeah, mixt-ape's kind of my decompression project. It's just for fun. It's just for the love of the community, and yeah, it's going well.
I guess that's always what sort of we go back to, right? As founders, we want to do something for fun, and that's kind of how this podcast also got started. I can give you a quick backstory of what happened. It was just these three guys, me, Amrit, and Raj. We were just walking down the alley in SF when we met after Build Space. We were just walking down and we were just jamming ideas, and then I think Amrit was like, "Yo." I think Amrit and Raj were bouncing ideas off each other as to what to build. And Amrit was like, fuck, we should build this. And then he went silent, he was just thinking, I think, for a while. And then next thing, he starts building this thing, in the lobby at the place where we were staying. And then he does first iteration, and then he shows us in the next morning. And yeah, that's how block builds.co started, actually. And we thought we should do this podcast to bring on founders and onboard their projects onto blockbuilds.co. Do you guys want to also introduce yourselves, Amrit and Raj?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Amrit. I go by Amrit Builds just because I love building stuff. I love building different things just for the community, just for the world, building impactful stuff. Again, as Raj, as 10K mentioned, that day, just when we started, we were trying to build something new just for the love of Web3, for the love of blockchain. And there's so many projects out there, but really in terms of a community, you can't really discover the app discoverability in this space is just so bad. And people just building the same thing, keep on building the same thing again and again. And what really should be happening is just you should be using other tools that people have already built, leveraging other tools, but really that's not happening. So these old tools that people have built, they just get abandoned and people build their own tools, and the cycle just repeats. That's part of the reason we need to solve this issue. People should be able to discover apps. Maybe that they might not know the name of anything, but maybe they know hey, they need this app to do this. So that's where we started Block Builds, and now we're here and just trying to make an impact.
Yeah, there's a lot to that backstory, but I agree with everything that Amrit just said. I think it's the community we often look for, and I think, Harkle, I would like to ask this question later to you too, how just it's been to have a community behind you and how it kind of drives to work without it. But yeah, a little intro about myself. at heart, I'm just a builder. Been building for a while, and in Web3 for just over 2-3 years now, and I think it's the most fun I've ever had building, and it's exactly because of the reason we're doing this podcast. We have all these ideas and people, all this energy, just in one goal: building apps and dApps that live forever, that are inclusive, that have these like first principles in mind that we all can agree on. And I think that you can't find anywhere else. And really glad to have met these folks and do this here.
Dude, you know what else is common between the four of us? We all have Mad Lads NFT. So all of us kind of have that in common. All right, Harkle, like I have the next question for you. I saw your first tweet was March 2020 under the handle Harkle. I know you like I saw some of the podcasts where you said you deleted your previous account, but the first tweet that you had was your Bitcoin address. So do you mind telling us how you got into Bitcoin and Web3?
Yeah, okay. So I guess like I was on Twitter 2007, so that was my first account, and you know, I mean, with the web and the way that it's gone, it's sort of, but you know, it was a playground initially for me. I loved just like Web3, essentially. You know, like there was this Wild West place where crazy people were, crazy stuff was happening, and I was really interested in it, and then you know, I don't know, over the years, it's gotten worse and worse, and more intrusive, and so I actually just deleted all my accounts. So even my Facebook and stuff like that, I wrote a script and spent 3 days just completely scrubbing my Facebook account. So I've got a Facebook account, but all of the posts are deleted off it. They're probably sitting on Facebook server still somewhere though. But yeah, Bitcoin was really the thing that got me into crypto. I first bought Bitcoin back in 2004. So, and man, you know, I at that time I was just interested in the technology itself. So I thought, man, I wonder if I can buy some of this stuff, you know, like I've heard about it. It's and so yeah, in New Zealand, there's not really, at that stage, there wasn't really an easy way to buy Bitcoin, and I wasn't really engaged in any of the groups or forums or anything like that. So I ended up buying some, and the way that I bought it was through this site called Vox, which is, I don't know if you remember, I think it's still going. There's a game called Second Life. Do you remember that? It's like this kind of avatar-based thing. Sort of like, it's really weird. There's like, it's kind of like The Sims, but massive multiplayer online game. So yeah, so I bought it through Vox, which was this trade and exchange, you know, FX facility for swapping Linden dollars, which is what the what the currency is in game. So yeah, so I had to buy Linden dollars with my credit card. I could swap that into Bitcoin, and then yeah, I ended up buying some Bitcoin, and I think it was like $400 when I bought it, a coin, and I bought a couple of coins, and it went up like $1,000 to $1,000, and I was like, sweet. Then I sold it, and I was like, awesome, experiment complete. So. So that was sort of, and then I didn't really think about it much. That year I was doing, I was working on another startup full time, funding it myself, and man, I'm a glutton for punishment. And yeah, and so it wasn't until like 2018 that I started, you know, really looking at the economy and thinking, shit, man, things aren't going really that well at all. Like our governments aren't doing us any favors by printing heaps of money. Like we haven't solved any of the problems from 2008 GFC. And I started thinking, well, what's, you know, how do I preserve my purchasing power? And that was kind of my primary concern. And yeah, and so I started looking at Bitcoin again, and sort of got into it a bit more heavily, and then yeah, and then just basically started noticing Solana from that as well, some of these other products around, and started thinking about building, you know, like obviously being a developer in my day job.
Like how's the crypto community in New Zealand?
Mate, It's weird. Like so there's a Bitcoin meetup group called BitKiwi, and I've been along to that once, and those guys, like I mentioned Solana to one of the guys, and I almost got my lights knocked. You know, he almost punched me out. I think like they're not very friendly towards other technologies, and I'm a Bitcoin maxi. You know, like I'm totally a maxi, but I just
Totally,
think
yeah.
there's got to be business layers on top of the reserve currency, you know, and I think that's what Solana is going to be. So, and then as far as Solana goes, I don't know, bro. That's there's one other guy at work who I worked with who was really into Solana, but that was a job that I left maybe 2 years ago. So, and I haven't really caught up with him since. So I'd be interested to see where he's at and what he's been doing, whether he's still in the game or not. So it's pretty small here. We're a pretty small country, only 5.5 million people. So yeah, it's
You guys are kind of active in the startup community. I mean, a lot of startups and a lot of cool projects coming out of Australia and New Zealand. Even though you guys are kind of small when it comes to like population and everything.
Yeah, right. Do you know of any other Kiwi projects, New Zealand-based projects that you've seen?
Like Aldrin. Aldrin isn't that from New Zealand as well, or?
Oh, right.
Aldrin Exchange.
I'm not sure, man. I don't know.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was like from Australia or New Zealand. I'm not really sure.
We so when with Boom Army, we listed our token BMA with Aldrin, and that was when they were quite young. It was early on, you know, and they had this young girl who came and onboarded us, and you know, really good looking young girl, but man, I don't know, it was really weird. She was like she had this interview with us. We did a podcast with her, in fact, me and my co-founder Matt, maybe over a year ago. And,
all right.
Crikey, she was really dry, like really monotone. It was really weird.
No, it's sometimes when I meet people in the crypto community, it kind of turned out to be like that, and you can't really help it, right? Like it's also, you know, hush hush right now. And rarely is that I meet like people IRL. For example, Rosh and Amrit, I didn't know they had Mad Lads. Like I just happened to meet them at a building, event, and then turns out they're into crypto. So yeah, that's how that worked out.
Maybe like 10K. Props to yourself, man. You're a true community player and great at public speaking. I wouldn't be doing this alone, so thanks for
dude, this is just thanks so much. But this is just friendly banter. Like I've been having banter with all of you guys, like especially Harkle, like in the early days when you minted like 1303. I think it was called SoSol before it was called Boom Army, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah, man, that was the rule back then. You had to have soul in your product name.
We were talking about Boom Army. How did you end up trying to build that, and why did you pick Solana? Was there any particular reason?
Yeah, I mean, I think with you know, I'd had a look at Ethereum. I was aware of, you know, some of the other things. I bought a whole lot of shit coins actually. Like I had some Cardano, I had Tezos, I had like basically anything that was going around 2018, 2019. Like I put a small stack aside and I was like, this is my shitcoin stack. And I just started buying stuff. And I kept this massive spreadsheet and I was like tracking it all. And I sort of had my own tracker. And so I was doing a little bit of trading, and I was trading on a few exchanges as well, you know, putting some longs and shorts in and stuff like that, just starting to get to understand what all the thing about trading was about. Like I'd never done it before, and it was kind of something that was interesting to me. But yeah, it was around like with the whole Solana thing. Like I said, this guy at work, a mate of mine, he was really into it. It was he I think it was around 30 cents at that time, and he was super into Solana, and he said it was really awesome, and I was like, man, I'll check it out. So I had a look at it, and I'd bought some already, I think, and but I started looking into it, and yeah, I was like, man, this is because in my mind I was always like, you know, crypto, it's in its early stages, but whatever happens, it's got to, like, if it's going to have adoption, it's got to be as fast as the NASDAQ, right? Like, and the NASDAQ's like 500,000 transactions per second, because it's got to replace Wall Street, right? So that was kind of like an indicator for me. I was like, if a chain can't do that, it's probably not gonna do well long term. Over a 5-10 year time frame. And Solana, I think, was the first one that I looked at where I was like, oh wow, this could do that. Like theoretically, it's possible for it to do 500K transactions. So that's when I started looking at it seriously. And then I think it was like July 2019, maybe. I was talking to a mate of mine, another mate, and just saying, man, like with social media and crypto, like it has to be fast. Twitter's 6,000 transactions per second, so it's got to be at least that fast. And I was like, you could do that on Solana, and whoever comes first into this space is gonna really clean up. I said. So I was like, man, I just sort of thought I could build this, and so I started building it. And man, I wish I'd just done a shitty NFT project, to be honest. Like at that time, NFTs were really popping off, and I should have just gone for the easy thing. Like people were making millions of dollars from stupid pictures, and I could have done that really easily. But hey, hindsight's 2020. It was a massive learning curve.
Yeah, for sure. I'm wondering, what was your first project on Solana, and like even before NFTs came about, what were you guys thinking about building?
Yeah, so Boom Army, which is the social media site, which is it's still going. That was my first sort of project on Solana, and I think like in the current iteration, like, the big thing that appealed to me about social media on crypto, because it was that it's the possibility of decentralization. Like I think if you guys remember what Twitter was like back then, it was way more locked down than it is before Elon bought it. Like it was you couldn't say anything controversial. I was really dissatisfied with the whole thing. I was getting ratioed to the bottom. Like this, I tweet about politics and all sorts of crap, whatever's like sort of streaming from the front of my consciousness. So yeah, I was just getting ratioed out, and I just thought, man, this is not good. It's not good for free speech. It's not good for people. It's not good for dialogue. And yeah, so that was kind of the motivator.
It's kind of like all the people that have strong opinions face a lot of clashes on Twitter, is what I've seen. Like if you have really bold opinions, it turns out like you can't say much, even though it's supposed to be like a public forum. And I kind of get like, have you seen any alternatives that sort of do a good job at this other than Twitter?
Yeah, well, I know the Bitcoin community is really into Nostr now, so that's that's an open protocol that's been built, a node-based protocol where anyone can host their own node and essentially own their own content. The one that I ended up transitioning Boom to is called Mastodon. So that's another decentralized social protocol. And there's a couple of others. Activity Pub is what Mastodon's built on, and I think Nostr might be built on Activity Pub as well, which is the protocol for decentralized open social. But yeah, there's a couple around, but I don't know. They haven't really got a huge amount of traction as far as I can tell. There's another blockchain based one, which I've forgotten the name of. And that's a protocol that people can build on top of, and I think they're doing all right. Like they've made people some money and things like that, and they seem to have they really came through on the last big bull run. Like I think they made like 50 mil on their project, and then and essentially transitioned it into a decentralized protocol. Yeah, is it BitClout? I think it's BitClout.
Yeah, there was BitClout,
Yeah.
and there was also like Gum on Solana. I don't know if that's like BitClout is probably bigger than the Solana one.
That's right. Gum is Gum still going? I thought they shut down.
I think so. Yeah. They're trying to build something similar on Solana, I think.
You mean the Lens protocol?
Yeah, they're trying to build Lens on Solana. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, social is like, it's the hardest thing. It's the hardest problem to tackle. It's so complicated, and to build first of all, and then to get the formula right. And I think like social now, the social that succeeds now is not going to be the social that succeeded 5-10 years ago. It's everything has changed. You've got the young guys who are on TikTok and Snapchat and all that sort of stuff, like my kids. they're consuming social media in ways that I don't consume social media, and it's and I'm kind of, I don't understand how they do that, so I sort of leave them to it, in part. But yeah, it's a really hard problem to solve.
But don't you guys also think that like now that there's so many different options, it's actually getting decentralized? I mean, it is kind of centralized, like some of the networks, but now at least there's quite a few options to like opt out of like the centralized networks, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It's you know, it's a fragmentation thing though as well, right? Like, it's been really interesting to sort of see people, especially in Solana. I think, the real value is coming together and making real connections online. Like this, like you and me, TNK, like we've sort of made a real connection through Twitter and Boom and stuff, and and that's the value of social. It's actually meeting new people. It's mirroring real life content, I suppose. So I, I think there's not a lot of platforms that are still doing that. Like Twitter, essentially, in my opinion, it's a news platform. It's where I get a lot of my news, and that includes Solana. Like I'm heavily embedded in the Solana community on Twitter. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I didn't crack Boom, right? So don't ask me. I don't know. I didn't
Absolutely.
nail it down.
No, but I mean, like you tried. I mean, it's a hard problem, and you were alone. So, yeah, I can
I
see.
think I think building any app for the masses is kind of a hard problem. It's just like you don't know. You have a vision, but it's exactly like how exactly do you deliver that to the market? It's like so hard to nail down. It's also about the timing. Like you can build a perfect
Like the community had taken it over and they're trying to do their own thing now. And those guys are struggling, man. Like so it's a real good example of they were right place, right time, built this NFT, it blew up, they made tens of millions of dollars, and now they've got that money and they're trying to do something meaningful with it and really, really struggling. I think, like, they've got less than 1,000 followers on their account. They're just, trying things and failing. They're in the startup grind,
it's a process that you just gotta keep pushing and eventually like something hits. It's gotta keep building, experimenting. And I think there's a lot of learning involved, but as long as you take those learnings forward and like the next thing you build, you use those learnings to build, then like it just your success rate is essentially like much higher than should be much higher at least, or your ability to like achieve something great should be much higher than it was before, just because you have that experience behind you, because you've been building and learning along the journey.
Yeah, as devs as well. Like, I've always sort of viewed, like I've done a bunch of startups and nothing's really kind of, hit. But what has been really successful in that process for me is like I'll always use technologies that I'm interested in and that are emerging. And so, and inevitably, what happens is like after I get to a point where that project's kind of mostly complete and the and understand the technology, then I get a role like working in IRL in that technology, and that's how I've kind of leveled up my career. So hey, who knows? Maybe I'll build a CBDC in the next.
That's crazy.
Somehow.
I think then the question is, how do you actually discover these new technologies? Because like being early on in any technology is like it's kind of like hard, because like there's so many things coming out these days, like so many different technologies, so many different launches. So then how do you even know like which launch is like great? How do you come across these launches? Where do you actually discover all these launches of these new apps?
I think it's just being naturally curious. Like, I mean, I love what I do. I love my job. It doesn't feel like work. Like, that's why I do all these side projects. Like I've got a full-time gig in a pretty complex, large application that requires quite a bit of input, you know, and I'm still building on the side as much as I can. So, you know, it's just it's being interested, like pouring through repos on GitHub. Like I love doing that, like making weird, shitty little apps that like do weird things. Like like one of my favorite apps that I ever built was this when you could have when the Twitter API was really open, and it was around the time Game of Thrones was on, and it did what it did is every hour it checked on Twitter, and it looked for posts which said with the words "hold door" in them, and it just responded "hold door."
That is
It was
insane.
one of my best apps I've ever built.
Speaking of Web3, how has it been? Like I know, like Rosh and Harkle, both of you have like been like building a lot in Solana, uh, like quite early on. I just wanted to know, like, how is it? Like, do you have? Is it like, do you have everything that you need, or is it like still super hard to be devs building in Solana?
Yeah, I'm curious about Harkle. In the early days, how were you even going through these docs and trying to build a social platform? I mean, there was no one really thinking about social media on blockchains then. Now it's a thing in hindsight, right? But back then, like, how were you approaching uh, this challenge of building on a platform that not many people are familiar with? You have to first like also bootstrap your community, right? Have that taken care of, but then the technical challenge. Wondering how you tackle this.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the Solana side of things, I think when I first built the token and the tipping mechanism, which is just it was just a simple kind of split using Solana and Rust. It was my first time that I'd used Rust, and there was no anchor back then either. Like there's no anchor framework, so yeah, so it was like essentially like building that the contract the old way with you know massive amounts of account structs and all that sort of stuff. But Rust is kind of cool because it's all of the docs are kind of embedded in the types and the and the IDE. You know, like I think like you know consistently Rust gets really great scores in the developer reviews that Stack Overflow run and stuff because the tooling's really beautiful. Like it's really awesome. So that made it a little bit easier, but it was still really hard. Like I was just like, whoa, I'm doing something really simple here, and I've got all of this cruft with account structs, and you know, I'm feeding all these accounts in, and then it was really complicated. So there was that side of it, and then you know, like I've been building in React and stuff for years and years, so that was a little bit easier. Like I knew what my stack was, and I actually I pulled a repo off Twitter. Off GitHub that was basically like a Twitter clone. I was just like, here's a back end, here's a front end. It all works, like all the account stuff set up. And I just pulled that and I just started integrating the wallet adapter into it. I was like, sweet, we're gonna get social going in a turnkey fashion. But yeah, you know, like there was no Solana cookbook back then or anything like that. So but the community it's always been really helpful. I think I asked some of the first questions on Stack Overflow as well, you know, and there was, you know, there were about 3 or 4 people there just helping each other out. There are a few repos around as well. So like I'm a big fan of just digging into repos and searching on GitHub and finding, you know, finding what other people have done. But even now, you know, like I think, like what was I implementing the other day? I was doing, you know, like with all the new compressed NFT stuff, a get asset call. You know, so what I'll do is I'll take that method. It's like you know, get asset by ID or by collection or something like that, or by user, by owner. Get asset by owner. And so I took that method and I just like plug it into GitHub and do a search. And I'm like, how many get asset by owners are there on GitHub? And like there's 8 repos with a get asset by owner in them. You know, so we're still kind of early in that regard. But yeah, it's getting heaps easier. Like now I'm using Helios, you know, for all that compressed NFT stuff, including minting. Back in Underdog's another one, which is really, really good if, you know, it just takes a lot of the pain away. yeah, all of the tooling and infrastructures, it goes ahead leaps and bounds every month, you know.
Shout out to Mert and Tony. They're building that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, those guys are awesome. So accessible as well. I mean, that's the other thing, you know, like Mert's this massive, um, you know, he's got so much going on, and Helios is one of the bigger products in Solana, one of the more high profile ones. And he's still on Twitter all day answering tweets, you know, like shit posting and stuff like that. Like, that's what I love about the Solana community, you know. You got these, and even Tolly, like Tolly sets the bar from the top, right? Like he's he's on Twitter all the time, weighing in on Israel Palestine, like, you know, just shit posting and letting people know his opinion. And I love it. I love it. People are honest and open, and the culture's kind of set, you know.
Yeah, I remember I would be digging through the Discord community chats, and they would post that they have like weekly office hours, and that's where I would go to get my questions answered, because that was the only way. Like, I think what you're talking about, the problem that we're trying to solve here too is the discoverability of apps. I think it's very important for devs, for everyone. The more you can do a better job at a discoverability problem, the better, the more your devs are going to build, because they have examples to work off of, to fork, to use as base. And then I mean, a lot of things would get lost in Discord chats. That's why great that we have Stack Overflow to maintain a good repo of questions. But yeah, that's awesome that you're able to like use absolutely no resources and yet like still take on the challenge of, hey, I'm going to eat glass and create this smart contract for this purpose, and I'm going to use my React skills and just put these two things together and create something that people can use. And doing that in public, I think that's also just another like awesome point. Yeah, great to hear that.
And now there's AI, right? Like, have you guys used Cursor yet? The IDE?
Yeah, a
A little
lot.
bit.
How awesome is it? Like, oh my goodness, the stuff that I can ship now, and the speed that I can ship it. Like, you plug in a link to the docs, and it just like consumes them, and then it'll make suggestions. You know, it's nuts. It's I mean, yeah, I think we're just going to see things go exponential in terms of, you know, delivery and quality and speed, just because of tools like that. Like, AI is changing everything, you know. Again, it's awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I use Cursor a lot. You know, you could just like write functions and like there's no end to it almost. I was like super blown away that those things were even possible. You know, like I've used ChatGPT before, but when I used Cursor, wow, it was insane. Yeah, if you guys haven't used Cursor, you should totally try it.
I started paying for the subscription like straight away. I was like, you know, what is it, like $20 a month or
15
something like that? I
bucks.
was like, $15. I was like, man, this is, you know, this is worth way more than that to me. You know, just straight in there, like, yeah, no brainer to pay for the GPT-4 integration and the speed and stuff. Because, you know, like I'll have 20 minutes before dinner, and I'll be like, oh, I've got to refactor this whole thing and, you know, switch out a library or something like that. And I'll literally just take the docs from the thing and go, hey, Cursor, I want to refactor this whole page, but I want to do it with this library. And it'll give me a like 95% complete answer. And there's a few things that I have to switch around. You know, it gets a bit confused with some things. And then like in 15 minutes, I'm done. I go and have dinner, and I'm like, man, that would have taken me like 3 or 4 hours last year. You know,
I'm just saying how Cursor is crazy. Like before, like even like building landing pages. Before, like people would build them from scratch, spend hours and hours just building landing pages. But now they're like, even like these no-code tools such as like Framer.ai, just tell it like what exactly you want from a landing page, and you can just ship it. And then you can like, it's fully dynamic. You have a CMA, and you can just plug it into different things. So like building a landing page now versus a year ago is like a no-brainer. It's like it doesn't take any time. And for your existing code, if you don't know code, it just like feed it to like AI, it just like refactor it for you. So I think the building speed has gone up a lot if for those people who are using these tools correctly. But again, that also means like a lot more like maybe apps, a lot more building. Some things when you start small, if you start from the beginning, it's just like if you don't understand the fundamentals, if you just start getting to AI, that can also lead into like a few problems for the future apps, because I think you gotta understand the fundamentals first before you can just like go into Cursor and like it spits out the code. If you don't know what's happening, you wouldn't be able to fix these errors. So you gotta start from the bottom still. But again, if you learn the basics, I think AI could take you really far.
Dude, the thing that's sort of like blew my mind, even with with these tools, is that like I used to have this thing, like it's the same for writing and coding. I call it like some people call it writer's block. I used to have coder's block, but now I can just skip that. I can just put it in AI and I get like some version of it, and then I can start like fixing the bugs in there, and then it sort of takes away that starting friction, and that helped me a lot, I think, with all my projects.
It's like the perfect intern that you always wanted but could never have. But you wouldn't trust them to deploy to prod, but you'd definitely have them give you ideas and run experiments on the side. So
yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. It's a perfect intern, right? Yeah. Cool. Let's talk about like your cap. What are you wearing?
Oh yeah, yeah. This is so. This is a cap. I got this made for Breakpoint. So this is the mixt-ape logo, which is the project that I've been building in for the hackathon, for the Solana hackathon, for Hyperdrive, and yeah, mixt-ape is like it's a proof of concept, basically a streaming app where you can add tracks from YouTube and they get embedded in a compressed NFT, and then you can share that NFT around, and it's playable. So you can put any of the compressed NFT addresses into the mixt-ape website, and then stream a track. So yeah, it's really early days. It's a pretty simple app at the moment. You can essentially just make a playlist and then play it. And there's a few little things like points and stuff in there. But yeah, it's really like my love letter to Solana, because Solana's fast. It feels Web 2 ish, and yeah, and I got all these people who I met like you, 10K, through Boom, and I just wanted to kind of make something fun. And yeah, I think like I got pretty burnt out on Boom in the end, but it's mixt-ape's kind of my decompression project. It doesn't.
And
have
the
to
mint
do
is
well.
live right now,
Just
right? Like you can go mint right now.
Yeah. So it's like the URL is mixt-ape, like mixt-ape.com. So and yeah, I think there's like 160 mixtapes that people have made so far, and man, they're really good. Like I love music. I love going to concerts. I love live music. I love I listen to music all day while I'm coding and stuff. So it's been really cool. Like there's there's some good music. There's a guy, Pixel Toy, who does Shill Magazine, who he's an Aussie, and we've both got really similar taste in music. And some of the stuff that some of the tapes that he's made, I'm like, man, this is awesome. Like, got me onto some new music that I haven't heard before. So that's the goal, Like, I just want people to share the music that they love, and I'm going to continue building kind of social mechanisms in so that they can find it and whatnot. But
that could actually be a thing, right? Like a lot of people make like really good like playlists on Spotify, and like there's no monetization for that. Like people put an effort, right? So you can just like add like a crypto layer to that and like sell it as an NFT. There could be a market for that, right?
technically it's against the terms of service. Like you're not allowed to stream video without the video, which I could, if they ping me, I'll just put the little video in there and stream it with the video. But I was thinking, like if it does kick off, I mean, maybe YouTube would buy it. Like, it's if it's something compelling, because I think that they're struggling to find market product fit with their streaming service. So, but I don't know. I think thinking like that as well, like thinking about a lot of that sort of stuff can kill you. I think, like with your products. Like I just want to, I just want to focus on the fun of it. I want to focus on the community of it. I want to get all my mates making mixtapes and then meet at Breakpoint and have a whole bunch of beers together and have a really good time. That's what I care about.
That's actually a great segue to talk about Breakpoint. What are you guys thinking? Are you guys excited? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm super excited. I just hope I can get there on time. I still haven't bought my plane ticket, but I have to be there in some way, shape, or form. So, gonna make it happen. Think I went to last Breakpoint. I think conditions, market conditions, everything. I think the FTX thing was also going on around that time, so it wasn't. It
Shout out
it didn't.
Sam.
Shout out to Sam Banksman. Yep, he's in jail somewhere. But I think the builders were still there building because that's what they do, and I think that is just going to amplify by so much this time around, and I can't miss being around that energy because that's the only energy that's brought me to crypto and why I build on it every day. So it's just that's the most thing that I'm excited about. Yeah. How about you guys?
Yeah, you mentioned a good point. Like for me, the thing was like I'm always building cool stuff. Like I've been building on AI. I was building on a blockchain initially, but again, like I want to like really hit the masses with blockchain, and I want to build something great. So like I think like Breakpoint is a really way for me to like gain motivation of some cool projects and meet a lot of cool builders at Breakpoint. This is actually going to be my first time in Europe, so I'm also kind of looking forward to that. So that'll be fun meeting lots of cool people. And I think like Solana has like one of the best communities I've ever seen. Like all these degenerate people, I love it. We're all degens. So I think it'd be fun to meet. We're really smart. Like all you guys, like you guys are like off the charts in terms of like smartness, like what you guys trying to build, your consistency. So really gonna be inspired. I think this is gonna be an inspiring trip. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's I've got a sauna in my room. Like, hey, I booked pretty much when the tickets first came out, and everything was on offer, and I got this awesome deal.
Yeah, you were like super early. I sent like Amrit and Rosh the same links that you sent me.
Oh, for all the side events. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, well, because I'm not so interested in like going to the talks. I'm gonna probably hang out the back and just try and find like chat to people who are milling around because like as for me there'll be a few things that I'll go to. I'll go to the hackathon stuff, and there's a couple of devs who are talking who I want to hear what they've got to say. But otherwise, yeah, I'm just going to be hanging around like trying to jam and meet people. Because I mean that's the best part of the conference, right? Like you want to meet people and expand your horizon and get to know what they're doing and I think it's going to be amazing. So yeah, I'm staying in Zaandam, which is like 5 minutes away from the conference venue, and I'm pretty much booked for all the side events, although not confirmed for half of them yet. We'll see. And I'm going to go to the Bitcoin conference as well because there's that Bitcoin builders conference on it's on the 30th. It's like the Monday, I think.
Oh, okay.
That's the
It's in the
network
middle
state
of the
conference.
Yeah.
Or a Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I know like
okay.
Mert and Tony and stuff are going to that from, and Tolly is speaking at it. So I've been like, that could be really interesting. Like you're going to have all these Solana people there, got all these Bitcoin people there because Bitcoin. I mean, it's awesome as a base layer, but they're going to need a business layer, and Solana is like the obvious business layer for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this is one thing that I've noticed about crypto conferences is that people love talking to each other, especially the builders, right? Like, what is the best thing that two builders can do? Integrate each other's ideas and build something even more powerful because of that. And I think that's something we don't get in the Web2 world. You have companies trying to compete with each other left and right, but in the Web3 world, I think it's just, hey, let's find out how you can use Herkel's mixt-apes project in your social platform, and that's gonna help accelerate your social media platform because all the music fans, but it's also going to help put mixt-apes on the map, and it's a cool feature that your protocol or your app can now use. I think that's a really unique feature of everything that we're working on. That it's just so composable by default, and it gives me goosebumps thinking about we're all building a unified platform at the end of the day, and it's just super cool to go to these conferences and sense that energy.
Mixt-ape's got solar plex reactions baked into it, and that's like, you know, Vikshit, he's been building solar plex, and there's another guy who are kind of, you know, have connected with on Twitter and things like that. But like, I love, you know, he's in the Web 2 world. It's like, oh, he's my competitor, you know, like solar plex. They started kicking off a couple of months ago, and I'm still doing Boom, and I don't mention it on there, you know, out of courtesy. But I'm like, man, I'm all in on solar plex. I just want to see the community succeed, you know. And so, you know, I came into there like another social media founder, and Vix is just like, yeah, hey man, welcome, you know, come on in. And I'm like, these, like, the whole reaction NFTs, which is what Dialect have done as well, have been really successful. And I'm like, man, I'm going to take those NFTs that are on chain and make them reactions and mixt-ape as well. So anyone on Solarplex who's connected their wallet, they can react to a mixt-ape and use those NFTs. And it's like, it's kind of a really different way of thinking, you know, like you say, Rosh, Web 2, it's a whole different kind of thing that's going on.
Wow, that's great to hear that you're literally, that's how you're building as well, thinking about others and how you can kind of bridge and connect those two layers together. Cool.
I think we covered a lot of stuff, and especially like the community on Solana and everything, different apps, and like how we're building, discovering all these like different ecosystems. And one last thing I wanted to mention is like with the community, just like Solana, just like they're like trying, since they're pretty new, the community that they're building, it's just like, it's huge. Even like these different organizations built around Solana, like Solana Foundation, there's Solana Uni. They're providing so much like funding. There's hackathons that we're hosting on Solana. It really like moves the ecosystem forward. Like the way for me personally, like if there wasn't Solana Uni, I wouldn't be at Breakpoint, because they're the ones who are like actually like, there's a fellowship from like Solana Foundation. I got introduced through Solana Uni. I'm a student, right? So like all these new builders that are coming in, like students like us, if this wasn't for the organizations and the community, them promoting us to build on Solana, I guess I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be like doing this podcast. So again, like that's also another great thing about Solana that we have.
The last thing was like, how can people help you, Harkle? How can the community help you? Is there something that you'd like to share with the community? Can they sort of do something that would really help you out?
I think, you know, it's just using mixt-ape, you know, like it's free to use, obviously. Like the more mixes that get in there and the more people who are using it and interacting and then complaining about, you know, UX that needs fixing or, you know, features that they want, like that's really where it's at. Like there's no real, I don't have a Discord for it or anything. You know, I'm using Solarplex mostly for the social connections. But yeah, it's really just getting people in and using it and kicking the tires of the product. Like that's how people can help.
I was wondering what you're most excited about for your mixt-apes project over the next 2-3 months. Is this a project you're going to continue to build upon?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm really excited about Breakpoint. And that's kind of my next thing. I want to get there. I want to meet everyone. Like at Breakpoint, I think I'm gonna look for a role. Like I'm gonna try and, you know, connect with a team, an established team, and get like a senior eng or CTO role if I can. And then yeah, I mean, there'll be VCs there, and I'll talk to them about, you know, I'll sort of see if they're interested in mixt-ape or Boom Army. You know, Boom's still positioned well for the bull market, and it'll be interesting to see. Like, social could be a real, you know, darling of the next bull market potentially. So, I've got a few arrows in the quiver. You know, like I'm just going to go there and have a good time first and foremost, and cut loose, and then just see what falls out of it. You know.
Yeah, that sounds like a great plan.
How can people reach you on social media, Harkle? Is it Twitter or is it Solarplex or?
Yeah, Twitter's probably the best. I'm at Harkle _. I need to get that Harkle. The
I'll put that in the show
notes. The original Harkle. But yeah, I'm on Solarplex as well, and I'm on social media all day. Like I'm a social media tragic. So yeah, always checking and posting and yeah, memeing and stuff. So.
All right, that was awesome. Thanks for coming on and doing this podcast with us.
Bro,
Three
thanks
mad
for having
lads.
me.
Format that's now.
Four mad lads.
So
Yeah,
good.
exactly right.
So good to chat and face to face 10K. Like honestly, it's been a long road.
I
Just
can't wait to like meet you guys at Breakpoint and hang out and do all the cool stuff.
can't wait. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I'm so pumped. It's like I can
Yeah.
hardly wait.